Many gardeners spend fortunes fighting weeds. But these 5 plants act as a true biological shield in your backyard. They suppress invasive plants naturally, saving your time and money, being almost free. But attention! What works in Texas may not thrive in Ohio. I will show you exactly which of these plants is ideal for your climate zone and the correct planting technique, so they do the heavy work for you. If you want to stop spending on toxic pesticides and have a 100% natural garden that maintains itself clean, you need to know these options now. Ignoring this is throwing money away and continuing to be a slave to manual weeding. In the United States, millions of dollars are wasted every month in a chemical war against invasive weeds and pests. The use of Roundup and glyphosate-based herbicides surged in recent decades. From 1974 to 2014, use rose from about 0.4 million pounds to more than 276 million pounds per year in the country, and the cost for the average American household. Keeping a perfect lawn costs about $100 to $400 per month, adding up to about $900 to $4,000 per year for a quarter-acre lot. That includes weekly mowing, monthly fertilizing, and products to control weeds. But the impact goes far beyond money. These chemicals can contaminate groundwater, harm pollinators, and leave toxic residues in the soil where kids and pets play. Here is the big secret few people understand. Bare soil is dead soil, and nature hates empty spaces and always tries to cover the ground with something. And most of the time, that something is exactly the weed you do not want. It is a losing battle from the start, but there is a smarter solution that flips the game. It is called living mulch, a living ground cover that keeps the soil protected instead of exposed. It literally smothers unwanted seeds before they can even sprout. Some plants go further by releasing natural compounds into the soil, a phenomenon called allelopathy. It is like an invisible shield working 24 hours a day, without you lifting a finger. The question is, which plant does this best for the climate where you live? The first option going viral in the United States as a lawn substitute is redcreepingthyme, scientifically known as Thyme serpulum. This aromatic little plant is popular with gardeners who want to stop the constant weekend mowing. It is well suited to full sun areas and USDA zones 4 to 9. Why does it work so well? Creeping thyme forms a dense low mat, about 7 to 10 centimeters tall, that helps crowd out weeds and block germination. It can handle light to moderate foot traffic, so you can walk on it without killing the plant. It is great between decorative stepping stones and for low-traffic garden paths. In spring it bursts into pink or purple blooms that attract bees and other pollinators, turning your yard into a living fragrant carpet. There is more. Once established, it tolerates drought, handles summer heat, and survives cold winters. It prefers dry, open conditions and may struggle in very humid areas. For planting, here is the key tip. Skip seeds if you want fast results, and plant rooted plugs or young plants instead. Plant in spring after the last frost or in fall before the first hard frost. Plants about 15 to 30 centimeters apart. Water regularly for the first weeks, then maintenance is minimal, and the next crucial point is the soil. If you live in the United States and have fallen the nolawns rabbit hole, you have likely seen this plant in videos as the lawn alternative that seems too good to be true. Redcreepingthyme, scientifically, Thyme serpulum. It is a low-growing aromatic perennial subshrub that forms a dense mat hugging the ground. It is exactly the kind of living cover that changes the game against weeds, because it leaves no space left over. And yes, it fits the range for many people. It is hardy in USDA zones 4 to 9. So it works from colder northern areas to hot, dry regions in the west and south, as long as you get the basics right. Now comes the part that makes this plant go viral. It is a ground cover you can literally use under your feet when you walk or step lightly. It releases a pleasant herbal scent. That is why many people tuck creepingthyme between flagstones and stepping stones, or in sunny paths where regular grass always fails. In a popular lawn replacement story, the owner chose redcreepingthyme because it is low, tolerates moderate foot traffic, resists drought, spreads fast, chokes out weeds, and attracts bees and butterflies. In short, the complete package for a more natural yard. This carpet effect is not just for looks. The thyme creates such a tight mat that weed seeds struggle to find light and space to sprout. The practical result is less weeding over time. Just do not get confused. It does not become a soccer field. The idea is light to moderate traffic, like walking to the mailbox or crossing the garden, and when it blooms, it looks someone spilled purple-pink paint on the ground. The small flowers in shades of pink to purple appear in mass during the warm season. NCSU describes blooming from June to September, and Gardenia notes a long window from late spring to early fall, peaking in summer in many temperate climates. In practice, this means weeks of a flowering carpet. As a bonus, this carpet is a magnet for pollinators like bees and butterflies, so it not only defends the space, but also improves the life of the entire garden. But here is the catch. The best region to plant in the USA is not just anywhere. It is where you can combine strong sun and fast, draining soil. Creeping thyme prefers full sun, at least 6 hours of direct light a day, and does very well in poor, dry soils. This includes sandy, gravelly, rocky, and gritty textures. That is why it tends to be especially happy in parts of the West and the drier interior, where summers are hot, humidity is lower, and soil drainage is naturally better. In very humid regions, it may struggle more. Gardenia warns that in humid climates, it is worth increasing air circulation and even using gravel or coarse sand at the base to keep foliage drier. And the planting tip that saves months, sometimes a whole year of frustration. Go with plugs, the rooted seedlings. Instead of trying to start from scratch with seeds to cover a large area, Gardenia explains it usually takes 1 or 2 growing seasons to form a very dense mat. This speeds up greatly when you start with established plants and correct spacing. For paths and borders, the logic is simple. Place the plants with good drainage in full sun and let them close the gaps over time. As NCSU describes, it literally fills stone crevices and spreads over rocks. Now, if you love the idea of reducing maintenance but do not want to rip out your entire lawn, you just want to fill gaps, keep it green in the heat, and improve soil for free, the second plant is Microclover. It completely changes the logic of the traditional lawn. Microclover is a dwarf variety of common white clover, usually cultivars like Pirouette or Pipalina. The difference is both visual and practical. Leaves are smaller, it produces far fewer flowers than standard white clover, and it grows lower and less aggressively. And do you know what that means? It flies under the radar of HOAs, those homeowner associations that usually crucify anything different in the yard. The look is more uniform. It blends super well with grasses like tall fescue and Kentucky bluegrass, and does not turn into that white flowery carpet that attracts swarms of bees. Now comes the magic. Microclover is basically a free fertilizer factory, working 24 hours in your yard. It fixes nitrogen from the air directly into the soil through bacteria in its roots, feeding the surrounding grass. The University of Maryland estimates this can cut at least 1 nitrogen fertilizer application per year. In the Mid-Atlantic region, tall fescue mixed with microclover can reduce nitrogen needs significantly. This not only saves money, but also reduces chemical fertilizer runoff that ends up polluting rivers and bays. Plus, it fills those areas where grass stubbornly dies, dry spots, brown patches in summer. Because microclover stays green, even when grass goes dormant in the heat, it literally plugs the holes before weeds can colonize. And on top of that, it is super drought resistant once established. Regarding climate adaptation, microclover is absurdly versatile. It works from USDA zones 3 to 10, covering practically the entire continental United States. It is super cold hardy, surviving down to zone 2 or 3 with snow cover. and it at the same time tolerates hot summers in the south. But here is the regional detail. In the south, Texas, Florida, Southern California, you can plant a 100% microclover lawn that stays green all year because the warm, mild climate allows it to thrive without going dormant. In the north and Midwest, colder zones like 3 to 5, experts agree a mix of microclover and grasses is better. Clover may go dormant and brown in coldest months, while grass keeps some green in fall and winter. It does especially well in full sun or partial shade, in soils that hold a little moisture, but does not need rich soil because it produces its own fertilizer. And the application. Here is the trick. Overseeding. You sow microclover directly over the existing lawn. No need to rip anything out or till the soil. You literally spread the seed over the grass and let it integrate. The ideal time is early spring or early fall, when temperatures favor healthy germination. For cool season grasses like tall fescue and bluegrass, fall is perfect. Before seeding, mow the grass very low to expose the soil and reduce competition during germination. The recommended seeding rate when mixing with existing lawn is about 10% of the pure planting rate. If coverage is not uniform the first year, repeat seeding annually until you reach desired density. It is literally the perfect solution for anyone wanting less work, less fertilizer cost, and a lawn that fixes itself. And what if the problem is not the sunny lawn, but that shady corner under the tree, where absolutely nothing grows? This is one of the most common complaints among American gardeners. Nothing grows under my oak tree. The truth is most grasses need sun to thrive. When you have dense shade under mature trees, on the north side of the house or between fences, the soil ends up bare, and then come the shade weeds that love these forgotten spaces. The solution: ground cover plants that evolved exactly for these conditions. Partial full shade, forest soil, and competition with tree roots. The first option is sweet woodruff, or Galium odoratum, a classic shade cover that creates bright and delicate green carpet. The name sweet is no accident. Leaves release a fresh sweet fragrance, when crushed, a scent reminding of fresh hay, which is why this plant was historically used in sachets and even to flavor drinks in Europe. It is hardy in USDA zones 4 to 8, covering from cold northern areas to temperate southern regions. When planted in ideal conditions, partial to full shade, rich organic soil, and consistent moisture, it forms a dense cover 10 to 15 centimeters tall, with fine leaves arranged like little stars along the stem. And in spring it explodes in small white flowers that light up the forest floor. And why does it work against weeds? Simple. The foliage density blocks sunlight that weed seeds need to sprout, creating a blackout at ground level. Once established, it spreads by underground rhizomes and can even naturalize in abandoned areas, occupying spaces other plants cannot. But if you are a native plant purist and prefer American species, the alternative is wild ginger, or Asarum canadense. Native to the deciduous forests of eastern North America, wild ginger is found naturally from Canada to the Carolinas and westward to Kansas, especially common in the Mid-Atlantic, Midwest, and Northeast. It is hardy in USDA zones 3 to 8. Visually it is quite different. It has broad, soft, heart-shaped leaves that create a showy and almost tropical texture on the garden floor. Although not related to culinary ginger, its roots produce a scent like true ginger, and were historically used by Native Americans and early settlers as a spice substitute. Wild ginger flowers are curious. They grow close to the ground, hidden under leaves, small and brownish purple. Though not showy, they attract pollinators. Why does wild ginger work so well as a weed barrier? Because the broad leaves and dense root system that work together to form a solid cover in the shade. Once established, wild ginger can even defend terry against aggressive invaders like the dreaded garlic mustard one of the worst non-native weeds in the East. Transplants spaced 30 centimeters apart form a closed cover in 2 to 3 years, blocking light and space for unwanted seeds. It grows slowly but is incredibly tough. It tolerates deer, wet soils, heavy shade, and even erosion. Regarding best regions, sweet woodruff works especially where areas with cool to moderate summers and consistent moisture. That means the Northeast, Upper Midwest, and parts of the Pacific Northwest. Wild ginger is a champion in eastern forests, Mid-Atlantic, Midwest, and Appalachian states where soil is naturally rich, acidic, and organic. It prefers constantly moist but well-drained soil. Although it tolerates drought once established, it performs much better with stable moisture. There is a place in the garden that seems like hell for any plant. That narrow strip of dirt between the sidewalk and the street, affectionately nicknamed in the United States as hellstrip. There the soil is compacted, poor, gets reflected heat from asphalt, road salt in winter, and constant foot traffic. In short, it is where the hope of a green lawn goes to die. But for one specific plant, this hostile environment is paradise. I am talking about sedums, or stone crops. These succulent plants are born survivors because they possess a biological superpower called crassulacean acid metabolism, or CAM. While other plants open pores during the day to breathe and lose water in the heat, sedums keep everything closed under the scorching sun and only open at night. CO2. This makes them incredibly water efficient and practically immune to extreme drought. To cover the ground and end maintenance, creeping varieties like Sedum spurium are unbeatable. Known as red carpet or dragon's blood, they grow low, just 10 to 15 centimeters high, and spread to form a succulent mat so dense that no weed seed can penetrate. Besides being functional, it is beautiful. Many varieties change color with cold or sun stress, turning from green to bronze red or deep purple, and bloom in summer, attracting butterflies. They work in USDA zones 3 to 9, meaning they handle everything from Bruthoda winters to the dry heats of Thyme, Arizona. In fact, the dry west and southwest states, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, dry parts of California and Texas, are where sedums shine the most, because rocky, sandy, poor soil with excellent drainage is exactly what they love. In clay and wet soils of the East, they can rot. So if you live in a rainy region, you need to ensure extra drainage. Maintenance, almost zero. You plant water a little until established, and then you can forget it. It is the ultimate solution for anyone who wants a beautiful sidewalk strip, without ever turning on the hose there again, leaving the hell of the sidewalk for the battle of the garden edges. Are you tired of pulling grass that invades your flower beds? The definitive solution to separate the lawn from the rest of the garden is Liriope, popularly known as monkey grass or lily turf. This plant is a true tank in American landscaping, working in USDA zones 5 to 10, covering most of the country except the frozen far north. But pay close attention now, because there is a catch that can ruin your garden if you choose the wrong variety. There are two main types: Liriope muscari and Liriope spicata. Liriope muscari grows in well-behaved clumps, staying exactly where you planted it, and only slowly increasing in size. Liriope spicata is aggressive, spreads by underground rhizomes, and can invade the lawn or neighboring beds quickly, becoming a nightmare to control. For 99% of cases, the recommendation is clear. Always choose Liriope muscari. Look for cultivars like Big Blue or Variegata if you want defined edges without headaches. And why does it work so well as a barrier? The clumps of Liriope muscari are so dense and fibrous that they form an impenetrable green wall. Not even Bermuda grass, the terror of southern gardeners, famous for invading everything, can easily cross a well-established line of mature Liriope. It acts physically by blocking the horizontal advance of the grass and shading the soil at the base, preventing seed germination there, the best region to plant. Liriope is the king of the South and Southeast United States. It handles the suffocating humid heat of Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas without complaint, and it thrives in clay and acidic soils common in these regions. It tolerates moderate drought, full sun, or deep shade. Although it blooms less in full shade, it is resistant to pests and diseases. In late summer, it gifts the garden with spikes of purple or white flowers that last for weeks. The classic application is planting a continuous line at the edge of beds, creating a visual and physical border that eliminates the need for that boring manual edging work. Every week, to close our definitive guide on biological shields, let's quickly review the arsenal at your disposal. If your problem is full sun and foot traffic, go with redcreepingthyme. Want to keep the lawn green and fertilized effortlessly? The answer is microclover mixed into the grass. Have that stubborn shade under the tree where nothing thrives. Sweet woodruff, or wild ginger solve it, facing the hell of heat, drought, and rocky soil on the sidewalk. Sedums are the salvation. And to never fight grass invading your beds again, use the impenetrable barrier of Liriope muscari. But before you start planting, you need to understand the secret mantra of experienced gardeners. Sleep, creep, leap. In the first year they sleep, in the second they creep, and in the third they leap. Do not expect an instant miracle. In the first year, sleep, plants focus on creating strong roots underground, and it seems like nothing is happening. It is in this critical phase that you need to water, well, and weed by hand to give them a chance to establish. In the second year, creep, they start to spread timidly, and only in the third year, leap, does the shield truly close, suffocating weeds and delivering that magazine look with zero maintenance. Patience is the key to success. Now tell me in the comments, what is your USDA zone and which of these warrior plants will you recruit for your garden this season? Do not forget to like the video if these tips helped you save time and money. Until next time,